It's time for new metal album reviews.
There are certain moments you have as a metalhead that just are permanently ingrained in your mind, and I will never forget this one. 17 years ago, I'm sitting in Disc Go Round, a local used CD store. And the internet was around, obviously, but it wasn't very prevalent in many people's lives, including mine. And you're thumbing through the used metal CDs, and I'm going, man, I think I've heard of these guys before. I'm not really sure. And, of course, these are all used CDs that, people got traded in for like $1 or whatever. And so you can bring it up to the counter and say, hey, dude, can I check this out? Which is what I did. I handed it to him. He pressed play on the CD player, and I put the headphones on, and I had never heard anything like this before in my life. Like, tons of melody, but heavier than hell. And it's the first time I ever heard melodic death metal. It's the first time I ever heard a band sound anything like this before. And I remember listening to practically the entire album, standing there, and the guy's looking at me like, you all right, dude? Yeah, I'm fine. Because I was in awe at just how good it was and how different it was. And melodic death metal was all I listened to because of this album. This album was Horacle by In Flames. I listened to Jotun, track 1, all the way to episode 666 before I said, hey, dude, here's $8. I'm taking this with me. And I got consumed with melodic death metal at that point in time. And you look at Dark Tranquillity and At the Gates and In Flames and Soilwork and Arch Enemy and Children of Bodom and all of these bands. And almost the entire scene was really, Sweden and most of, Europe and stuff. But they even had American bands like Shadows Fall bringing their own spin onto melodic death metal. It's the only kind of music I listened to for like years. Not gonna lie. Then I got older. I matured a little bit. My musical tastes in metal started to change a little bit, but melodic death metal's always had a special place in my heart. The only problem is the genre over the last, decade or so, to my opinion, has gotten very, very stale. And even the bands I just mentioned before, a lot of them just aren't making the melodic death metal we fell in love with. In Flames, for example. But yet every once in a while, you come across a band, either from a long time ago or even new guys, doing stuff that made you realize and remind you of why you love this genre of metal so much. So when I was able to get my hands on a promo copy of Battle Through Time by Undrask, this is their first album. They have an EP that's out, but this is their first full-length album they've ever done. Self-financed, no record label. They put out their own stuff. Melodic death metal, not from Gothenburg, Sweden, but from Greensboro, North Carolina. Gothenburg, Greensboro, it's pretty much the same thing. So a band from the States cranking out some melodic death metal in 2017. I was excited to check it out. What you just heard was Conscripted. That's from Undrask, off of Battle Through Time. Again, these guys are from Greensboro, North Carolina. This is the most excited I've been about a band coming from North Carolina since Sanctity. If you've ever checked those guys out, and you really should, because they were pretty killer too. Made one album, Road to Bloodshed. Jared's now the bass player for Machine Head, who was kind of the front man of the band. Anyway, ADD moment in regards to North Carolina metal trivia. But these guys say that some of their influences are Amon Amarth, Children of Bodom, Kalma, In Flames, Scart's Symmetry, Dream Theater, and Symphony X. Can't go wrong with any of those. And I don't want to get all Eddie Trunk here and just, mention a bunch of random bands and obscure bands you've maybe never heard of, but I listen to these guys even just a couple tracks in, and they remind me of a band called End Forsaken. They had 2 albums that ever came out. They were from Illinois, maybe mid-2000s, early 2000s, and some may just say this is metal, but to me, this is melodic death metal, but melodic death metal at its absolute best. And it's a concept album, which is really cool as well. And the album stands out for No Graves for the Dead. Very hooky opening riff. Double bass drums come in. Some cool melodic guitar noodling throughout the verse. And, don't expect, growled vocals in the verse and then these sugary, sweet, screamo-like clean vocals during the chorus. This is growled all the way, baby. Just like I like my melodic death metal. That's how it should be. Great opening track. And the first of many nice solos on this album is on No Grace for the Dead. What you just heard, of course, was Conscripted. It doesn't let up much at all from No Grace for the Dead, which is a great way to kick off the album. Some melodic noodling in a lot of the bridge parts of this song. And what's cool about Conscripted, and Undrask does this often throughout the album, and I want to be careful with how I make this comparison, because I don't want to make this comparison, and people say verbatim, oh, you're comparing them to them. No, I'm not. All I'm saying is, there's some early Arch Enemy, like Stigmata, Burning Bridges-like songs that start out cool. Good, right? And then about halfway through the song, the pace or the direction of the track changes completely. And the song goes from, like, you know, being really cool to being, like, incredibly awesome, just like that. And I've noticed Undrask does this on a lot of songs throughout the album. A lot of songs that start out a particular way end up changing in the middle of it to something that's totally not like what you were just listening to, but yet it fits, and then they kind of go back to kind of wrap up the song in a nice little bow on the way that the song started. They do this on many, many tracks throughout the album. Conscripted is a great, great example of that, and also makes it so you're not listening to, and whether it's melodic death metal or just a lot of metal bands, how many times have you listened to a metal album and gone, you know, it's good, but doesn't track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, doesn't it sound like I just listened to one 50-minute song because it all kind of sounded the same? That's not what you're going to get from these guys, that I can tell you. After Conscripted, you have Champion of the Dawn. Very At the Gates, the Haunted vibe, especially in the very beginning. Killer solo on this one. Black Ocean comes in next. And again, we're telling a story here, so different vibe of this track. And again, first 2 minutes, you're digging it. 2 minutes in, holy shit, what are these guys doing? But in a very, very good way. Then you have Embers and Omens, which is kind of an acoustic, folk metal sounding track, which, makes sense, especially when you hear the next track, Long Hammer, Forged and Foundry of Fire and Steel. One of my favorite tracks on the album. Very Amon Amarth sound. My buddy's a big Amon Amarth fan. I'm like, dude, you've got to check out this song. He's like, dude, this is great stuff. They have a video out for it. If you haven't checked it out, you really should do so. It's awesome in a good and bad way. It's terrible, but it's awesome because it's terrible. Sorry, guys. It's great. I'm sure you were doing it very tongue-in-cheek and you pulled it off very well. Good video, great freaking song. Like, again, a great combination of Amon Amarth, especially in the beginning, the very Viking metal feel in a way. And then it actually kind of has, some Horacle-like In Flames verse work going on there, at least guitar and melody-wise. Great, great track. Stand out on the album for me, for sure. Then after that, you have Primal Revelation, another great song. Faceless Eyes, which there's like about a 15-second part of the song where I thought I was listening to Death Clock for a little bit. Vital Right, and then they end the album with Battle Through Time. This is, for a band that is releasing their first album, this is top-notch work. Not only for a band who doesn't have a label, so they're producing this, they're mixing, they're doing all of this themselves, at least to my knowledge. It sounds great. It sounds professionally done. Musically, they have some serious chops. Vocalist Steve Wynn can growl with the best of them. Like I said before, no clean parts that you're going to get here, but he changes it up quite a bit. You have your traditional growl sound, but it's not the same sounding vocal for, 40, 50 minutes throughout the album. You have what you would expect from a typical, melodic death metal growled vocalist, but then kind of gets into the Lamb of God, Randy Bly-like snarly, higher pitched growl. I really can't describe it unless you know what I'm talking about sound-wise, but he does that quite a bit too throughout the album, so it doesn't sound like the same thing. And again, if you're a melodic death metal fan, you know that guitars especially can really make or break just the melody and the crunch and just the overall vibe of the song. And Daryl DeWitt and Eric Collier, but Eric just shreds. Incredibly well done. Great solos on this album as well. Guys, I'm telling you, if you're a melodic death metal fan like myself, make sure you pick up Undrask's debut album, Battle Through Time. It's 9 out of 10 material for me. I mean, it is very, very good. And for a band that's just starting out, for a band that has their first full-length album out, I cannot wait to see what the future of this band holds in store for you. Because again, if melodic death metal fan, or just a metal fan in general, make sure you check these guys out. It's definitely worth a listen. You get reviews just like this, plus the latest news, interviews, all things metal on the According to Metal podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed the review. If you did, and you think you may dig the other shows we've done or shows we're going to do in the future, make sure you subscribe to the podcast through iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, however you want to do it. and also like the According to Metal Facebook page. Greatly appreciate that as we share not only every episode, but interviews just like this, little excerpts, little things that we will record throughout time to keep you up to date on all things metal. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. To check out the entire episode or previous episodes of the According to Metal podcast, simply click subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, or the podcatcher of your choice. It's the According to Metal podcast. Latest news, reviews, interviews, and all things metal. Subscribe. You know you want to. That is, unless, I don't know, you like Coldplay or something.